The central government has come out with a draft aviation policy that sees every member of the Indian middle class, that's 30 crore people, buying at least one air ticket and flying. That has the potential to take the Indian aviation industry to the third largest position in the world, and it will have a huge multiplier effect on the economy. But the policy has a flip side to it as well, and to have a candid conversation about it, we have Civil Aviation Minister Ashok Gajapathi Raju with us today. So thank you for joining us. If I could ask you, just tell us, what is your broader outlook in shaping this policy first, because it is massive in terms of where it can take our industry. 50 crore flyers by 2027, that's unimaginable.
You see, the thing is, aviation must rise to its potential. Everyone feels that aviation has not risen to its potential, and its contribution to the economy can be improved. So, on those sides, this whole work was done. Politically speaking, it's not a question in any election, but the BJP manifesto, NDA government, this thing as a guideline talked of regional connectivity. So keeping these two factors and how to make it happen, as a policy, the mind of the government ought to be made open when you invite suggestions. And then by inviting suggestions, the people will tell you where they think you are wrong. So you have a second opinion.
Right.
And then you come out with the final. That's a little exercise because other ministries have to be consulted and things like that. But we were blessed with time. Prime Minister was kind enough to hear us out and give us guidance. So that way we have been able to work and come out with something which is fairly appreciable everywhere.
But do you feel it's a fair representation of the policy when mainstream newspapers come out with the headline just picks up that 2% cess that will be levied and not the rest? Are people who are just talking about this, it'll be inflationary as for flyers, are they looking at the full glass?
The main routes, competition has kept the rates low. So what we would normally call here the category 1 routes. So the competition still continues there. So these routes which are really need a kind of a hand-holding type of situation, they are basically in the other places. And they need it, otherwise India is a big country and it needs its civil aviation to be vibrant. So this is by and large the crux of it. But any type of fees, cess, tax, people would prefer not to do without it, but it's reality.
Okay. Part of why people feel that the cost of flying should go down is the recent reduction in the cost of aviation fuel. Oil prices have gone down and so has aviation fuel, some say as much as 40% compared to last year. So don't you feel that is a feeling which is justified to a certain extent?
To a certain extent it has impacted. The existing growths also, one of the impacts is lower ATF prices. But local taxes are high and they vary from state to state. Those states that I would term as aviation friendly, that is whose taxes are 5% or below, their activities have gone up. So it's clearly visible. Some states within a state, certain airports they brought down the tax, certain airports they have not brought down the tax. So it's all varied, and India is a federal country. So we do have our limitations, but when the other side of the economy starts showing, then I guess like if tourism goes up, then the multiplier effect in industry and various other things, once it starts showing up, I think everyone will fall in.
You talked about friendly states because I guess what this new policy does to a large extent is also shift the onus onto states when you talk about the regional connectivity scheme. The idea of having 2,500 rupees for every hour of flying only for those areas where states are friendly enough to take certain measures that is shifting the onus to the states as well.
Yeah, the idea is getting them involved. They also should become partners in development. And this is one thing, like if you say tourism, for instance, the highest employer for capital invested. Now, if tourism goes up, small jobs also go up. So that's the advantage.
But won't the state say that the centre is charging a cess of 2%? What do we get?
No, you get a flight if you fall in line.
Okay.
The airlines are saying, airlines are free to come to you. We are not stopping airlines from going to places. We are incentivizing things where it's needed the most.
So it's a scale that the state should be looking at the scale, the way the scale goes up.
I would look at it this way. Government of India has a role. State government also has a role. If they are two hands, if they clap, things happen. So state and government of India have to work as a team. Then aviation becomes vibrant.
Right. And what the industry also says that for these routes, the regional connectivity scheme, if you have a maximum, there should also be a minimum, because they say that, you know, when the season is off, we offer massively concessional fares. So why is there not a problem at that time? And when the fares are higher, suddenly there's a problem cropping up.
You see, we do understand that it is seasonal. Now, if we go into floors and caps, you're artificially pushing down the rate somewhere and after artificially pushing it up somewhere else. So we would like market forces to fairly, decide on it.
Okay.
Now, the problems that come.
So 2,500 per hour is not sacrosanct? That will also be flexible?
That's what we feel will trigger.
Okay.
You see, now you have to get people involved. We feel that that's a rate that will trigger flying.
Okay.
So that's one of the reasons why we have come out with it. But ultimately analysis, these things are not exactly there to the rupees, annas and pies to stick for to eternity. Now, but a policy should have some certainty in the time frame, say 3 years, 5 years, so that business can plan and can perform. So this is it.
Naturally. Now you're also looking at reviving nearly 400 airstrips in airports. But what will ensure that there isn't a situation which we've seen in the past where you have an airport in Jaisalmer where crores of rupees were spent and then it's still not operational?
You see, we have about 31 airports which are unoperational as it is. Besides that, the old airstrips that are lying all around the country. You see, now what has happened, modern science has made certain things difficult because the length of the airstrip, things like that. Aircrafts have changed, their designs have changed, they become more safe. But in the bargain, they're taking more and more people.
Right.
So these lines, they won't, you just cannot operate on all those strips.
Naturally.
But some of them can become operational. Where they can become operational, where there's a potential, I think that will come in the first phase. But the idea is that state governments and the government of India will have to cooperate with one another for these things to happen. State has to give land. Government of India has to put up the facility. And
but all this will be done after feasibility studies?
A little bit of objective and evaluation has to be done. Now, if it is not going to be objective evaluation, then it's just going to generate a demand and it will become a non-performing asset. So we like assets to be performing rather than non-performing.
Okay.
And to bring down costs, we have also said that everyone involved will have to take something.
Naturally.
Like the VAT for the state government has to take. Probably the AI has to have a concessional thing or a cross subsidy so that there are no airport charges there. Then security is costing money.
Naturally.
So how to move the security from airport centric to aircraft centric? So all these exercises have to go on so that costs can come down and flying can become easier.
But this moving of security from airport-centric to aircraft-centric, do you think that is possible in a situation where you have, these days in our country, especially metal detectors everywhere, there is a constant threat to every establishment especially government establishments?
You see, the thing is security has to be meaningful. Now when you're having, say, an area where only one flight is coming a day, and you have security all 24 hours in 3 shifts going about like that, the costs go up. So is it not possible to kind of sanitize the area 2 hours before the flight is supposed to land and keep it sanitized till the flight takes off?
And there will be privatization as well for security with, of course,
non-core functions. Non-core functions can be privatized. They've been done world over. Now that the Home Ministry will have to take a call on, because they are responsible. But then world over it is done, so it can be done here also. Like we don't want, say, terrorists anywhere. And one thing cannot be compromised is security. Another thing that cannot be compromised is safety. So we have to keep these 2 things in mind.
So there will be no compromises on those front, but whatever can be worked out
around it to make it happen.
Acceptability, it will happen. Okay. And when you talk about increasing the FDI limit to 50% and beyond, why is it conditional to open skies?
You see, then it becomes easier and rather for FDIs to flow in. Now open skies, it's going to come after some time. But the idea is it should come in. Because ultimately we have to compete with the world. So at some point of time it has to come in.
And the same thing about 520 rule. You've left it open. It can be there, it won't be there, or there will be a third thing which is about credits, this whole credit system. Why not decide one way or the other of the 3 options for the future as well?
You see, you have to decide. Ultimately, or is not the thing. But we want to get a complete feedback. So that we have put it for public consultation, we put it on the net, we are asking people for this thing. So that if you have missed out on some point, you see, your definite policy will be, say, 3 years or 5 years, something like that will be. But once you're going to say it's going to be definite and business plans accordingly, it should not have a mid-course change. Because if it has a mid-course change, it generates a certain problem. Now, if you look at that 520, it's an interesting piece of regulation. It is in no country. So we have it, and we have people who want it also.
Yes, obviously. Those who are players, established players, they would not want that policy to change. But you have new entrants now.
Now, what we want...
They want to fly international.
We nothing sacrosanct about international, national and all that. We want the whole, this thing to be vibrant. Now, we need Indian players. Till now what is happening, our own bilaterals which we have agreed with other countries, we are not performing, they are performing.
So they have the advantage.
So we contribute to their GSDP, they should, but we need to contribute to our own.
Naturally. And as far as this flying credits model is concerned, isn't it also part and parcel of the regional connectivity scheme? Because one revenue stream for those airlines, the smaller airlines, will be that they can sell their credits to other airlines as well. So that is something that goes in favor of the credit scheme. So in a way you've chosen what you want to do, but you want to ask people to give their feedback on it.
Obviously, we need to have our feedback because we need constant consultations. You see, I'm not the repository of all the knowledge in the world. Now, there can be perfect ideas coming out from any quarter.
In terms of services, ancillary services, you've said that we're not going to have any limits to what can be charged as long as flyers are told that, look, we're charging you this much for this service, and it's clearly mentioned. Do you feel that is something that will help bring down base fares in the long run?
You see, whatever, it requires a transparency. The consumer, or in here case the flyer in our case, needs to know. Things should be transparent. They should not be opaque, they should not be hidden. So as far as that goes, yes, transparency, competition, these are things that are necessary in a modern economics. So I guess it has to happen that way.
Okay. And there is a concern about India, and that's an overall concern is related to its economic growth, which is true for the aviation sector as well, that if India's aviation sector grows in such a, in such an exponential manner, it will have some sustainability issues, environmental issues. Do you feel those fears are unfounded, or they have some grounding?
You see, sustainable issues will come in the economics of it. Environmental issues are a different cup of tea. You see, we can't degrade our environment. In fact, aviation in that sense is quite a bit of a polluting type of activity. So we need to reduce our carbon footprint. We have already started put strategies in place. In fact, I think Cochin in Kerala is doing us proud. The whole airport is now on solar. So they keep generating the power and they keep giving it to the state government, and the state government gives it to them whenever they require. So the whole consumption is generated. And for us in airports, we have a little bit of land which for security reasons have to be kept idle.
Okay.
Now that land can be utilized for generation. It's already started. And I'm hopeful that this year itself we'll have 50 megawatts being generated in our airports. So every year if we are able to add on at that rate, I think it's a matter of time where our own consumption of power will be generated in an environmental friendly way. Then science has to improve where the aircrafts are becoming lesser polluting, but it's polluting all right. So we need to have strategies there, and then you preserve your environment.
Because airplanes can't run on batteries.
As of now, no.
As of now, no.
But experimentally a solar flight did come into our country. So it's interesting. So how this will go about in the world, one cannot just say immediately. But modern science keeps evolving and change is a continuous process.
There's also concern about doing away with environmental clearances for brownfield airports and projects, expansion projects. Do you feel that's again something that
see,
needs to be addressed?
environmental thing, in environment, if it comes as a block to development, there's a problem. Now, brownfield airports are already running airports. So by, say, extending a runway 200 meters or 500 meters, it doesn't add to pollution in that sense. It adds to economic facility. Probably a new airport is, again, because it's a polluting industry, it requires that type of looking into. So, because we should not be damaging our own environment.
But there are also centers that do require new airports. There's Delhi itself, which is a major hub, and then there is Mumbai. Then there are situations, say for example in Patna or in Jammu, where safety is a concern, but finding a way out has been difficult. Do you think
it is difficult. It is difficult.
But are you looking to address it?
Definitely, it has to be addressed.
What sort of time frame are you giving it?
You see, now Delhi, for instance, if you come across, here the existing airport has already become congested, but they have a scope for improvement. So that scope of improvement has to be harnessed. So they've already started work on that. But there's bound to be, if the growths are the way it has happened in the past 1 year, if you see, then it's a matter of say 10 years or 10 to 15 years where this capital region might require another airport. Now, are we going to say no to that? Now,
That would not be wise.
that I think won't be wise at all. So, in that sense, we need to gear up also. So, that has to be done. But then going and speculating right now for something that is required, but in the planning processes, it needs to be flagged, the issue.
And when you talk about maintenance and overhaul all those facilities that will be coming up, you feel the incentives that you're giving are sufficient to revolutionize that particular
I
arm
think
of
so.
the aviation sector?
I think so. At least one has to try. You see, India has skill. We have a lot of skilled manpower. And this activity has gone abroad. Close to $1 billion. So,
90% of it is outside.
it was just out. So, if I put it another way, what has Sri Lanka got that India doesn't have? So, so if you look at it in that way, we have all the capabilities.
Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. And that's one place where jobs can come in. And the government is committed to bring in as many jobs as we can. So, what we consider the impediments, we have taken it up and we are hopeful that we will be solving them. And this activity will come to the country.
And because of the policy and all the reasons, the kind of growth that is happening in the country, all the big airline, not airline companies, but airplane manufacturing companies are viewing India as a huge market. But then how does the Make in India component and ease of doing business come into this? Because they should be coming and they should be setting up manufacturing plants or assembling plants here as well. That is also something that the policy is looking at very carefully.
We are looking at it, how to get jobs into our country. See, we are looking at it. You see, aviation has military and civil applications. On the military side, I think we are one of the biggest buyers worldwide. So, if something can get transferred into the country, it will add. And there's no reason why India can't make an aircraft.
Naturally. We have the skill. If we can make, if Foxconn thinks that we can make iPhones here, why can't we make jets?
You can. Theoretically, it is possible. So, get down to doing it. While attempting, you will succeed in certain places, you will fail in certain places. Now, success is for further motivation. Failure is a lesson. Now, if you are willing to learn the lesson and not do the same mistakes.
So, this government is not afraid to fail.
If you are afraid to fail, you will never be afraid to perform. You can't, it just cannot happen that way. Because you can fail in certain areas, you can succeed in certain areas. But when you are willing to learn lessons from your failures, that makes sense.
There's concern, of course, about the future of the public carrier as well. Air India, people wonder for how long will the public exchequer, the taxpayer, be paying for Air India's losses. There is an effort to turn it around. Are you fixing any kind of a time frame for India to turn around? And if that doesn't happen in that time frame, privatization is the way to go?
You see, the books are so bad, Air India, that it generates a problem. But the airline is a good airline. It's a good airline. There's a lot of indiscipline which I guess has crept in over the years. So, if we are able to get out of that indiscipline, if we are all able to work as a team there, because whenever Air India has worked as a team, it has delivered. The Yemen issue is a classic thing, under stressful conditions that too. They have delivered. Close to 45, 46 countries requesting India to evacuate their citizens from war-torn areas. I think never these type of requests India never had in the past. And very conscious of the danger. Our people are brave that way. Very conscious of the danger, they do work. But they have to get it into their heads to do the work. It's a beautiful airline. It has committed people. And we are trying to give them a type of atmosphere where they can all work as a team. And if they work as a team, I'm sure they'll come out of this mess.
There's an image problem as well, because when you talk about cancellations and delays, Air India leads the pack. It's not that the other airlines don't have this problem with passengers. If that can be addressed, in fact, there is now a component in the policy, I guess, where the DGCA can penalize as well, apart from the fines that the airlines have to pay to the flyers who've suffered cancellations or delays. Do you think that is something that will help ensure that planes arrive on time and depart on time?
You see, service disruptions are the worst thing. Because a passenger or a traveler, why is he taking an X airline or Y airline? So, on-time performance becomes extremely important. Now, Air India has improved on its on-time performance. That is there, that is visible. And every month, these figures, the DGCA, it comes to the DGCA and it gets analyzed. So, on its own, Air India has been pulling up its socks and working hard. And we need to encourage it. Unfortunately, it's in the news for all the wrong reasons. So, that also is a setback for Air India. Sometimes you feel that Air India bashing is popular. But otherwise, I think Air India is a good airline. It's competing well at the moment. It has, of course, benefited like all airlines by
Some
ATF.
people say it will benefit from an image makeover.
And it needs to work. It's got work to do. There's still a lot of work to be done there. So I have a feeling that since everyone is working as a team now, if this can continue for some time, I think Air India will turn around the corner.
Well, there is always work to be done, and it's great to see that people sitting in responsible positions are working on the future of the country, taking the aviation sector to where it's never been before. Thank you so much for joining us this evening
Thank
for
you.
Candid Conversations. Thank you so much.